Imagine a dense, chilling fog rolling over the industrial towns of northern England in the late 1970s. A palpable fear grips the streets, especially for women. Whispers of a monster, a phantom who stalks the night, grow louder with each passing day. This isn't a work of fiction. This was a terrifying reality, created by a man who would come to be known as the Yorkshire Ripper. His 5-year reign of terror left an indelible scar on the nation's psyche and exposed shocking failures within the very system designed to protect its people. How did one man evade capture for so long, committing such heinous acts in plain sight? And who was the man behind the monstrous moniker? Join us as we delve into the dark and complex story of Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Born in Bingley, West Yorkshire, in 1946, Peter William Sutcliffe's early life offered few overt signs of the darkness to come. He was described as a quiet, somewhat solitary child, the first of 6 siblings. School was a struggle for him, and he left at 15 with few qualifications, drifting through a series of low-skilled jobs, including a stint as a grade. It was during this period, working in the silent company of the dead, that some have speculated his macabre fascinations began to take root. He was a small, unassuming man, often bullied for his slight build. He developed an obsession with bodybuilding and later a need to project an image of masculine authority, which manifested in his job as a lorry driver, a role that gave him the freedom to roam the motorways and red light districts of northern England unseen and unnoticed. In 1967, Peter met Sonia Surma. To the outside world, they were a normal couple. They married in 1974 and bought a modest home in Heaton, Bradford. Sonia was quiet and studious, and Peter appeared to be a devoted husband. But beneath this veneer of domestic normality, a sinister double life was beginning to form. Sutcliffe had been frequenting red light districts for years, and he harbored a deep-seated, violent anger towards sex workers. This hatred was allegedly fueled by an incident where he believed he was cheated out of money by a sex worker. This personal grudge, twisted by his own disturbed psyche, would eventually explode into a spree of unimaginable violence. The attacks began before the murders. In 1975, he assaulted several women, leaving them with severe injuries, but miraculously alive. These were his horrifying practice runs. The police, at this stage, had no idea these separate, brutal assaults were connected, or that they were the prelude to something far more sinister. Then, on October 30th, 1975, the shadow lurking in the north of England claimed its first life. Wilma McCann, a 28-year-old mother of 4, was struck from behind and brutally murdered in Leeds. This was the first in a string of killings that would follow an agonisingly similar and brutal pattern. The attacker would use a hammer to incapacitate his victims before using a knife or screwdriver. The name Yorkshire Ripper was coined by the press, a chilling echo of Jack the Ripper from a century before. As the body count rose, a massive police manhunt was launched, one of the largest in British history. Yet, it was plagued by catastrophic errors. The sheer volume of information was overwhelming. A card indexing system used to cross-reference information became hopelessly bad, meaning crucial connections were missed. Sutcliffe himself was interviewed by police, a staggering 9 times during the investigation. 9 times he was in their grasp. 9 times he slipped away. He was dismissed for various reasons. His alibis seemed plausible. He didn't fit a flawed psychological profile they were working on. And crucially, he didn't have the specific accent they were looking for. This accent became the investigation's most infamous red herring. In 1979, the police received a tape recording and several letters from a man claiming to be the Ripper. The voice on the tape, with a distinctive Wearside accent from the Sunderland area, taunted the lead investigator, Assistant Chief Constable George Oldfield. "I'm Jack," the voice declared. "I see you're having no luck catching me." The police were utterly convinced this was their man. They redirected enormous resources to find the man with the Wearside accent, nicknamed Wearside Jack. All other leads, including those pointing directly to Sutcliffe with his Yorkshire accent, were sidelined. This monumental blunder allowed Sutcliffe to continue his killing spree, murdering 3 more women after the tape was made public. The fear in the community was all-consuming. Women were told not to go out alone at night. The streets, once lively, became ghost towns after dark. The public's faith in the police was shattered. While the investigation stumbled, Sutcliffe continued to live his double life. At went to work, he came home to his wife. He maintained the facade of an ordinary, working man, all while the biggest manhunt in the country was focused on finding him. He was hiding in plain sight, protected by a combination of luck, cunning, and, most significantly, the profound incompetence of the police investigation. The reign of terror finally came to an end, not through brilliant detective work, but almost by accident. On the night of January 2nd, 1981, two police officers on a routine patrol in Sheffield spotted a car with false number plates. Inside were Peter Sutcliffe and a 24-year-old sex worker. While being questioned at the station, Sutcliffe asked to use the toilet. There, he managed to hide a hammer and a knife he had stashed away. The next day, before he was due to be released, the arresting officer returned to the scene and discovered a second knife Sutcliffe had discarded. The pieces finally began to click into place. When confronted with this evidence, and under intense questioning about the Ripper case, Sutcliffe's calm demeanor finally cracked. After 2 days of interrogation, he confessed, calmly stating, "It's all right. I know what you're leading up to. The Ripper. It's me." At his trial in 1981, Sutcliffe pleaded not guilty to murder, but guilty to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. He claimed he was on a mission from God to kill sex workers. The prosecution, however, refused to accept this plea. They argued he was a sadistic, misogynistic killer who was fully aware of his actions. The jury agreed. After a 2-week trial, Peter Sutcliffe was found guilty of murdering 13 women and attempting to murder 7 others. He was sentenced to 20 concurrent sentences of life imprisonment. The man who had terrorized a nation for 5 years was finally behind bars. The aftermath of the case was a reckoning for the British police. The investigation was heavily criticized for its disorganization, its tunnel vision, and its dismissive attitude towards the victims, many of whom were sex workers. It led to major reforms in police procedure, including the development of computer systems like Home Office, large major inquiry system, to better manage information in complex cases. The man known as Wearside Jack, whose hoax tape derailed the investigation, was eventually identified in 2005 as Joan Humble, who was sentenced to 8 years in prison for perverting the course of justice. Peter Sutcliffe spent the majority of his sentence in Broadmoor High Security Hospital before being transferred to a mainstream prison. He died in prison in November 2020 at the age of 74. But the story of the Yorkshire Ripper is more than just the story of one disturbed man. It is a story about the victims, the 13 women whose lives were stolen and the 7 who survived but were forever changed. It's a story about a society's fear, a police force's failure, and the painful lessons learned in the darkest of times. It serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can hide behind an ordinary face and the devastating consequences when those sworn to protect us fail. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into one of Britain's most notorious criminal cases. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.